Hello, everyone, and welcome to Education USA Libya. Whether you are an undergraduate or a graduate, student, or even professional, tune in and join our today's session about studying business in the US with Mercy College. For anyone who's watching us today and who's interested in studying business in the US, this session is for you, and feel free to share it with anyone else who's interested in this field. So in this session, you'll get to learn more about the business studies in the US, the application process, and the funding opportunities, as well as some information about New York City, if you're a big fan of New York, with our guest, Ms. Sonia Brachel from Mercy College, New York. Hi, Sonia.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. And excited to tell you all about us, New York, and business.
Cool. Thank you so much for joining us today. Okay. And I'm going to start with a small presentation about Education USA. For the ones who joined our Facebook page recently, let me start with a brief introduction about Education USA before turning it over to our guests. So for anyone who's interested in studying in the US, this is the platform that you have to reach out to. Education USA is a US Department of State network. We are almost everywhere. There are more than 430 advising centers in 178 countries. So, of course, probably you're going to ask us, how can we help you? So what do we do, or what do we offer to international students? We offer free, unbiased, and accurate information about studying in the US. This kind of information could be about choosing your universities, financing your studies, applying for colleges, preparing for a student visa, and you can even attend our pre-departure orientation sessions before starting your journey in the US. We also offer free presentations about many topics related to US studies, and you have the right to suggest some of the topics, so feel free to do so. In addition to that, we host some Libyan alumni to do live sessions so that you can learn from their experiences and ask your questions too. And of course, we host sessions with US colleges representatives, just like our today's session. And this is your chance to learn more about the different degrees, the application process, available scholarships, and so on and so forth. So where can you find Education USA? So for Education USA Libya, you can follow us on our Facebook page, or you can find us on Instagram, just type Education USA Libya. And remember to visit our official website, educationusa.state.gov, if you want to learn more about the 5 steps to US studies, if you want to get more information about financial aid opportunities, and if you want to see other events that other Education USA offices hold. Okay. So welcome again, and remember, a recorded version of this session will be available on our Facebook page. We would love to hear from you as well, so feel free to write down your questions and we'll bring them up at the end of the session. So let me introduce our guest today. Ms. Sonia Brachel is Associate Director of International Admissions at Mercy College in New York, USA. With over 8 years of experience in international higher education, Sonia started as an English teacher in China and now works with international applicants from all over the world at Mercy College, traveling for recruitment, assisting students with their applications, and welcoming them to New York City. Sonia earned her bachelor's degree at Drake University, where she studied abroad in Madrid, Spain, and went on to earn her master's at Northwestern University. We're so happy to have you today, Sonia. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to meet all of you that are listening. Like Amira said, please put questions in the chat. Otherwise, happy to get in touch with you after this. Education USA is an amazing resource to help you with literally anything about studying in the US, no matter where you are in your college search. If you're right at the beginning or if you know exactly where you want to go, I definitely recommend working with them because it's free and they are ready to give you very, sound, smart, and non-biased advice, which is really important. So I will start by sharing my screen and welcoming you all again. The topic of this session is finding your fit, studying business in the US. So we're going to talk a lot about business. If you have questions on other programs that we have or other programs in the US, please put them in the chat. Happy to talk. But for the next 30-ish minutes, I'm going to be talking about studying business in the US. So I am coming to you live from New York City. You might recognize that building there. That's the Empire State Building. At Mercy College, one of our campuses is right next to that building. So when I go to work, I'm at home right now. I'm working from home during COVID at the moment. But when I go to work, I walk right by this building every day, and it's an amazing feeling to look up and see the Empire State Building every day when I arrive at my office in New York City. So it's nice to meet you. There's my contact info. Again, you can get in touch with me through Education USA, message me on WhatsApp, or my email is there too. So please just put in the chat if you'd like me to get in touch with you. The agenda for today, I'll tell you a little bit about New York, why study business in New York, or why study it in the United States over maybe staying home or going to somewhere a little bit closer to home. Why make the trip all the way to New York to study business? I'll talk about business at the bachelor, so undergraduate and graduate, so master level. And I'll tell you a little bit about what we at Mercy specifically offer as far as degrees, programs, and opportunities. So let's get to know New York. New York has been my home for almost 3 years. I'm one of 8 million people that live here. So New York is home to over 8 million people in 5 boroughs. So borough is in New York, we call kind of areas or regions of the city. So we've got Manhattan, where one of our campuses is located. You might hear upstate. That's not necessarily a borough, but it's a little bit north of the city. We have Brooklyn, where I live. So there are 5 boroughs. I highly encourage you to take advantage of all of them, whether that's just going to Queens to eat delicious Chinese food, or whether it's going to Little Italy, which is in Lower Manhattan. There's so many things to do, whether it's for, your career and your education, or whether you're just having fun, because New York is very fun. We're known for our arts. You might recognize there on the bottom left, that's Times Square. Movies are filmed there. We have art events going on all the time. Even now, all our museums are open under a little bit stricter capacity. I went to a museum about 2 weekends ago, learned about the history of gangs in New York, which was really interesting. So you still can have an experience, even in crazy times like this. We're very well known for our arts and our culture, along with our food. I mentioned 2 great places to go. We've got Chinatown, we have K-Town, which is Koreatown, which is right down the street from Mercy. Any kind of food that you want, whether it's from your hometown or from across the world, you can get to it in New York. That's one of my favorite things about the city. We're also known for our diversity. I'll talk a little bit about what Mercy's diversity looks like in our student body, but when you talk to people from New York, other people like me from other schools in New York, we're often going to say the city is your campus, because New York is one of the most diverse cities on earth. And for example, I'll give you kind of an idea of just how diverse our education system is. For New York public high school, so that's secondary school for students that are 18 and under, we have a student from every single country in the world enrolled at this time. So crazy diverse. You're going to meet people from all over the world, which is what we want. International students want that, right? You want that experience to meet different people from different places and get those experiences. And that's another reason why we're also known for being the city of opportunity, both for cultural experiences and also finding your dream job or your dream internship and getting that experience, those job networking connections to bring home with you or go all around the world. So that's New York. Now we'll focus a little bit more on business. So what is business? Some of you might be saying, I already know what business is. That's why I'm here. I'm going to get my MBA. Others might just be considering business as a major. So there are a lot of different options and majors in business that we offer at Mercy and in the US, not necessarily just management, for example. We also have finance. So we have the stock exchange, the New York Stock Exchange. We have the financial district about 20 minutes south of one of our campuses. So finance is huge in New York, whether you're working for a private company, a public company, or maybe even the New York Stock Exchange working in that field. We also have entrepreneurship, meaning if you're thinking, I have this really great idea, I don't know what to do with it, I want to start my own business, we have a degree for that to help you start your own program or your own business. Also have marketing. You're going to take marketing in any major that you pick in the business school, because marketing is so important about getting your message out there, no matter what company you work for, the company you create. The marketing is how you spread the word to the public. Accounting. So accounting is very specific. I'll tell you a little bit more about the options within this major, but if you want to, work in tax accounting, work in financial accounting, this is a very great career path because it's pretty much guaranteed a job when you graduate and you pass that exam. And management. So this is probably one of the most broad majors or concentrations in business. We have a Bachelor of Science in General Business, and we have a Bachelor of Science in Management. So this is kind of, you're looking at being at that C-suite level, CEO, managing director level of a company after you graduate. So business, as you can see, is so varied. You can be anything you want to be. And here's how at Mercy and in the United States. So in the US, here is a kind of simplified breakdown of what options there are for you at each level to study business. So the bachelor level, we also call it undergraduate. In the US, a bachelor's degree is 4 years. If you're coming from a school where you did IB, for example, or you have transfer credit from another institution, this can lower that, but generally you're looking at a 4-year degree. We're going to call it a Bachelor of Science, a Bachelor of Business Administration. Some schools might even have a Bachelor of Arts. So these all very much kind of mean the same thing. At Mercy, a BS is the same thing as a BBA. It's a 4-year bachelor's degree, and that'll say that right on your diploma when you graduate. A master's degree in the US is a little bit less rigid in the time frame. So you could have a master's that you earn in 1 year, you could have a master's that you earn in 2 years, or you could have a master's maybe that you even earn in 3 or 4, depending on how the program is built. But generally, you're looking at studying for 1 to 2 years to get your MBA, so your Master of Business Administration, or your MS, your Master of Science in, for example, business analytics or a similar field like that. And then also in the US, we understand that 6 years is a long time. So a lot of schools, including Mercy, offer what's called a 4+1 or an accelerated B+M or bachelor plus master's degree. So for example, at Mercy, you can do your bachelor's in 4 years, your master's in 1, you get a combined bachelor's and master's or MBA degree. Certificates are also an option. I would not recommend this as much for international students, but you'll see them advertised a lot on school websites. So just be always thinking about if you're eligible as an international student to do a certificate program, because they're usually part-time, they're usually shorter, and it's a lot harder to get a visa to complete one of these programs. So that's just something that as an international student, have in the back of your mind. So what is a Bachelor of Business Administration? What can you study? These are some fields that we offer at Mercy that are generally pretty available around the country, maybe not as many, or maybe even more. So these are the 8 majors in business that we offer. We have data analytics, we have entrepreneurship, finance, general business, international business, which is full of international students, management, marketing, and sport management. So as you can see, you have that general business there. A lot of our students will start with that because in the US, it's very flexible. You can come in as a business major and decide, nah, I kind of want to do PR and marketing because I really like my business marketing class. So you can change your major much more easily in the United States than you might be able to do in other countries. But understand that it's so varied. Even if you're taking finance as your major, you're going to take a marketing class, you're going to take a management class. So bachelor and master accounting programs. Like I said, this is much more specific. So the majors available on the accounting side, we have general accounting, management accounting, and public accounting. Public accounting is generally going to license you. So you need to have a bachelor and a master in public accounting to sit for the CPA. So that's a certified public accountant. Even as an international student, you're eligible to take this exam and be licensed to practice accounting. And that's generally something that workplaces and careers are going to ask you for. Usually, if you're going to be an accountant, you do go on to your master's degree. You get your bachelor and then you do your master's. So it's a little bit more time investment, a little bit more financial investment if you're thinking about accounting. So after you're done with your bachelor's, you want to get more experience, you're going on to your Master of Business Administration or your MS or your MBA. So we have the MBA, which is a standard degree, is about 1 to 2 years. Again, so many different concentrations or fields that you can focus in. At Mercy, we call them concentrations, but you might be able to get, an MBA in management, an MBA in finance, or international business, sports management, and more. So these are generally 1 to 2 years, depending on how quickly you go or how the program is formatted. For example, at Mercy, ours is 1.5 years to 2 years. We also offer the MBA Express, and this is very common in the US, especially in New York, because in New York, everybody's busy. They want to use their time the best way. They want to save money. So we have what's called a 4+1 or an MBA Express program. So this is the fastest way to get a graduate business degree because it uses some of your bachelor's study to match with your master's studies. So you're looking at studying for about 5 years total, receiving both a bachelor and a master program. So this is a really great deal, a really great business deal. And it also is pretty cool because you'll be oftentimes at the same school. So you'll be with the same professors, the same students, and you'll build up that network very strongly. So networking is really good opportunity in programs like this. And we also have a Master of Science, so an MS degree. These are usually in fields like human resource management, organizational leadership, business analytics, and again, they're 1 to 2 years depending on the school. So why New York for business? Why the US? Again, why come all the way over here? New York's really special because you're always going to be exposed to senior business executives. You're going to be exposed to people from the world of finance, accounting, marketing, just by taking, the subway, just by going to a meet and greet. We have lots of events on campus that we want you to meet these people. We want you to talk with them, ask them questions. Maybe one day those will lead to a job. We have career fairs. Every school that you're looking at should have a very specific part of their website or a lot of information available on how they help you find a job after you graduate, because in New York, there's no excuse for not having an internship while you're in school. There's no excuse for not having things lined up after you graduate if you're going to a school that's, preparing you for that. A lot of this comes from networking, which is just meeting people, learning from them, whether they're 1 level up from you or whether they're 10 levels up from you, to see what you could be next year or what you could be in 10 years. And also having those real world experiences. International students are eligible for internships in the United States. It varies from school to school when those start and if they can be on or off campus. So thinking about the visa and the F1 restrictions and understanding that you might not be able to have an internship day 1, but usually by year 2, you'll be able to start having those paid, can make money, paid internships off campus. For example, at Mercy, you're welcome to work on campus your first year. You can earn money on campus your first year, and then it takes until the second year for you to be able to go off campus and, for example, get an internship at Ernst & Young, for example, if you're doing accounting. So yeah, these are broken into internships, practicums, student teaching, clinicals, things like that. Want you to become a leader. So how do we do that? We want you to increase your income potential. That's why maybe a lot of you are considering business, because it will lead you to great jobs after you graduate, and it will lead you to, a little bit more money that you're earning because of all the study, and especially if you do an MBA. So now on to the fun part. The most fun part is money. How will you pay for this? Average costs. These might look scary, but again, remember there are so many different schools in the United States. There are thousands or over 4,000 accredited universities and colleges in the United States. So the cost can vary a ton. For example, a bachelor's degree might cost anywhere from $5,000 to about $60,000 per year. That's not including scholarships. Some schools you could have your entire tuition, your living, your books completely paid for. Other schools offer different scholarship amounts and different requirements for those scholarships. At Mercy, you're automatically considered for scholarships that cover up to 15% of your tuition. That's based on your grades from your secondary school or your general secondary certificate. So think about this when you're looking at schools. Look at how you apply for their scholarships, look at what you need to qualify for them, and think about that, because as you can see, 5 to 60 is a really big range. And that's per year, not even for the whole program. Masters, again, huge range, anywhere from $25,000 to $150,000 for the entire program. At Mercy, for that MBA program that takes about 1.5 to 2 years, the overall cost is $35,000 total for the program. So we're a little bit on the lower end for that. But again, if you go to somewhere like NYU, for example, if you go to Wagner, it's going to be about $150,000, which is great, right? NYU is a great school. Harvard's a great school. So understanding, looking at quality versus cost and how those relate. So how do you pay for this? You might not have $60,000 just sitting in your bank. We understand that. That's why we offer scholarships and grants. So scholarships and grants are usually free money, right? You've earned it because your grades are really good, or your SAT score is really good, your GRE, your GMAT is very high. This is free money that you don't have to pay back. Self-funded, when you apply for your visa to come study in the United States, you have to prove that you or your parents or your sponsor, whoever's helping you pay for college or pay for your master's, has the money to do that. So we call this self-funded. It's not necessarily just you. Like I said, you can have sponsors, you can have other people, write a letter and say, yes, I'm paying for Sonia's living expenses. Here are my bank statements. I have enough money to pay for her to live in New York. So a combination of scholarships and self-funding is usually what we see international students coming in with. Otherwise, there are loans available. Some schools do need-based international loans. It's a little bit less common than we wish it was. For example, Mercy, we're only merit-based aid. We don't offer need-based aid for international students, but other schools might. There also might be governmental loans from your home country or private loans that you could take in the US or in your home country. So I'm just going to answer some questions that usually pop up that are really good questions about the application process. So international student applications, what's different, what you need to provide, and when do you begin? So an international student has to provide a little bit more than a US student might need to. So the differences are mainly proof of English language proficiency. So you might have heard of TOEFL, IELTS, Duolingo. These are all tests that you can take to prove that you have achieved the English level you need in order to succeed in a program in the United States. You also might need to provide an evaluation of your transcripts, your academic records, your grades, your credits, things like that. So that means that we understand education in Libya is a little different than it is in the US. We have to convert it to our system so that we can make an admissions decision. Lots of schools offer this as part of the application. For example, Mercy, we do this for you. You don't have to pay extra money for it. Other schools might need you to go through a separate agency. So always being aware that every school has a little bit different process of how to apply and how to be admitted, and understand that start early so that you have time to figure all of this out. And when to begin. So like I said, start early. For example, we're issuing admissions decisions starting the visa process already for fall 2021. So if you're interested in starting school in September, fall 2021, that's when most semesters begin in the United States in the fall. Usually beginning of September, ours starts September 9th, for example. You should be applying now. You don't need to have everything together to submit your application. You could have nothing ready and submit your application, but at least you'll be, in our system. We can reach out to you, we can tell you about us, and you can start making your decisions. So a little bit different, depending on the school, are all of these fun things. Test optional policy. So I mentioned earlier tests like SAT, GRE, GMAT. A lot of schools have updated their policies where we don't need these anymore. Some of that is because we don't think that they're the best predictor or the best explanation of who you are as a student. Or also coronavirus and COVID had a lot to do with this. A lot of schools in the last year got rid of these requirements because we knew it was just too hard for you to go to a testing center and take the SAT. So Mercy updated our policy. We no longer require SAT for any of our programs to gain admission, and we no longer require GRE or GMAT at the master level for you to gain admission into our programs for the majority of them. Some of them are a little bit different. For example, if you're doing physical therapy, things like that, you might need to provide one. But for business, no tests are required. Tuition and fees, like I said, vary from school to school. Make a chart, write these down, figure out what tuition is, figure out what your scholarship options are. Because even if you're seeing that price of $60,000 a year, that looks crazy high, the scholarships might go up to $50,000 a year. So it all depends on the school. So for example, Mercy's tuition is pretty low. We're $20,000 a year. Our scholarships go up to $3,000 to $6,000 per year. So that sounds a lot less than $50,000, but you're going to end up paying kind of the same amount. So just being aware that tuition can change, scholarships can change that a lot too. And then the English proficiency score, take a look at those requirements so that you have time to take tests if you need to. Do you need a resume, for example? Do you need to write a personal statement? Do you need to do a letter of recommendation? We all want different things. We all have different ways of figuring out who you are and what you can bring to our program. So just be ready to provide lots of different options for different schools. And here's just a nice breakdown of everything we just discussed. Online application, most schools you're going to apply online. Most schools will waive the application fee for you. For example, we will. If you ask me, Sonia, can I please have a coupon code or a fee waiver? Then you don't have to pay for the application, which is a good way to save money, because if you're applying to 5 schools, that's going to add up. We'll need your transcripts or your records. So like I said, we'll need your, for example, general certificate of education, general secondary education, or your bachelor's degree transcript, resume, letters of recommendation, English proficiency, and maybe your standardized tests, depending on the school. When do you begin? You need to give yourself time. For fall 2021, you should be starting now, because you do need to remember the F1 visa process can take some time, especially with COVID. We're hoping it's going to be better. We're hoping it'll be, almost resolved by fall, and our students will be able to travel and get on planes and not have to quarantine for 2 weeks. But right now, who knows? So start early, get started on this early, collect those documents so that you can have your admissions decisions and start making those choices. So I'll wrap up with a quick little portion about Mercy College and tell you about us and specifically our School of Business. So our student body means how many students we have. We have about 10,000 students total. About 6,000 of those are bachelor seeking, and the other 4,000-ish are master's or graduate students. So it's almost an even split between bachelor and master students. The business school is our largest school. Our student geographic distribution, so where our students are coming from, they come from 40 different states in the US and 49 different countries. And that's actually even higher now. I think we're around 55 students from different countries. Our international student body is much smaller than this. We have about 200 international students on campus, and they're coming from those 55 countries. So we've got students from everywhere, both in our international side and also our domestic side. So we have a lot of students that are US citizens, but their parents are immigrants. They just got here. They speak Spanish at home and they speak English in the classroom. So the diversity is there, no matter which major you're in or which school you're in. We have 5 different schools, over 90 different programs, and I'll talk a little bit about those later. And we have 3 campuses in New York. So Mercy wants you to experience all of those 5 boroughs that I mentioned at the beginning. The Manhattan campus, you can see the Empire State Building there. That's where I work. Our business major is offered in all of these campuses. They look far away on this map, but from Manhattan to Dobbs Ferry, if you hop on a train, it's about a 40-minute ride, and you can go up the Hudson River. It's beautiful. It's a very peaceful ride. You can live on campus at Manhattan or Dobbs, and the Bronx is where we have our innovation tank. So if you're studying business with us, you'll definitely be there for business competitions, speaker series, and events. Here's a picture of the outside of our Manhattan campus. It's right in the center of the city. So you're right in Midtown. You have access to everything fun and everything career and school oriented. And here is an overview of Main Hall and Dobbs Ferry. Dobbs Ferry is a little bit bigger. We have more residential, so more dorms available in Dobbs Ferry. And all of our majors are offered out of this campus. So it's kind of up to you as a business student. You can study at any of these campuses. It's up to you if you want to be more city oriented or if you want to be more country. And you're also welcome to take classes at both or all of these campuses. So affordability and scholarships. You can see us there, Mercy College on the bottom left. We're about $20,000 per year for our bachelor's programs, which is very low for a private liberal arts college in New York, compared with some of our competition, which are schools that offer really similar things to us or in similar locations, but their price tag's a little bit higher. We're able to do this because we get a lot of funding from the government. We've managed our finances really well, and we also make sure our students do not go into debt after they graduate. We make sure that you understand what you're paying, how you're paying it, and when you need to pay it. So our undergraduates, our bachelor academic scholarships go up to $6,000 per year, meaning that if you receive that highest scholarship, you're paying about $14,000 per year for your bachelor's degree. The School of Business, we have all the programs I mentioned before. We've got the bachelor, the master, the bachelor plus master. We also have an MS in business analytics, which is a STEM course. That means it's in science and technology. And we have our Master of Science in accounting. So we've got the whole wide group of majors and programs that you can focus with. I'll tell you a little bit about what makes Mercy different, what I like about being here at Mercy. We have got the 5 Ps. So our people, our faculty have professional experience. We have faculty that have their PhD. All of our, full-time faculty, our dean of our business school, they have the highest degree available in their field. Some of our adjunct part-time faculty are part-time because they have jobs during the day where they're working, and that's really great for you. as a student because that's where most of the internships come from. It's from those actual connections that our faculty and our professors have with their current jobs, with their old jobs, with people they know in the field. That also is thanks a lot to our place. We're in New York City. We're in the capital of business. You could say we're definitely top 3 for cities in the world for business. We also pay a lot of attention to you. We give you a lot of support. We have very small class sizes. There are about 15 students per class. At the bachelor and master level, you get assigned a mentor. So in addition to me as your academic and admissions advisor, you have a faculty member advisor, you have a mentor who is someone who can help you register for classes, who can kind of help you figure out the financial side, and you also have your visa advising team. So we're all there to help you as much or as little as you need us. We're very into experiential learning. You're going to have internships. You're going to have people coming into the classroom to help you throughout your entire degree. And we have a 94% placement rate. So 94% of our students have a job when they graduate in business. Like I said, internships with leading institutions. Here's an example of one of our international business honors students. She had an internship at Johnson & Johnson, and she ended up landing a job with them after graduation. So this is where a lot of that networking comes in. Even maybe your internship freshman year is going to lead you to a job after you graduate. Here are some of the other places where our students work. You might recognize some of these names: Amazon, IBM, Ernst & Young, Merrill Lynch, KPMG. So students from every major are getting linked up with really high performing, high in demand companies. And here are some examples of our students in action, presenting to Disney in New York. We have NBC and ABC. This is mostly for marketing majors. Bank of America, this would be a finance major. And I'll close by just saying we can't wait to say welcome to New York. I'm glad that you came. I hope you listened and learned something helpful. I will stick around to answer any questions that you have, and I will hand it back over to you, Amira, to let me know if there are questions or ask me some questions.
Thank you so much, Sonia. Thank you for providing a lot of great information for students who are interested in getting a business degree in the US. So if anyone has joined us a few minutes ago, no worries, a recorded version of this session will be available on our Facebook page. And now let's move on to the Q&A's part, which is the most exciting part now. Okay. So if you have questions, please type them down. And I'm going to start with the questions that we received on our Facebook page. So Sonia, Mustafa is asking about the application procedure. So if someone is interested in maybe taking part of the undergrad or the graduate business programs in Mercy College, how can they apply? Could you give us more details and more information, please?
Yes, I can. So I'm going to find the slide actually that talks about what you might need. I'll just talk. So our application is done online. You would visit mercy.edu. That's our name, right? Mercy.edu, or just Google Mercy College, New York. That will lead you to our application page where you'll get to do everything online. You don't need to physically send us anything until much later or when you arrive. So if you're applying to a bachelor's program at Mercy, the main things you need to provide are your transcripts, is what we call your records, your academic records from secondary school. We need to know your classes, your grades, and if there are credits, we need those. And also your TOEFL, IELTS, Duolingo, or English language proficiency score. So we need, at the bachelor level, our TOEFL requirement is a 71. Our IELTS is a 6.0. At the master level, we need a 6.5 IELTS or an 80 TOEFL. And I am happy to send you this information more specifically in an email too. But basically for an admissions decision at the bachelor level, we need those two things. We love to see a resume. We love to see a letter of recommendation from a professor or somewhere you worked, a professional reference. And we love to see an essay or a personal statement about why you want to come to the US, why you want to come to Mercy, just anything that we can get to know you more. So Mercy, we're pretty fast at our decisions. If you applied, today and you emailed me and said, Sonia, I just applied, it would usually only take about 2 weeks for you to get a decision after you send all your documents in. On the graduate side, yes, it's pretty fast. On the graduate side, it takes a little bit longer because you have to provide more things and you're more involved with the program director. You might have an interview with the program director, depending on which program you pick. So again, we need your bachelor's degree transcripts or records. We need your English language proficiency score. Definitely need a resume. Definitely want those letters of recommendation. We do not require SAT, ACT, GRE, or GMAT, so we're test optional. We depend mostly on your grades and those other supplementary materials, and that's what we use for your scholarships too.
Interesting. Thank you so much. Okay, moving on to the second question now. And for the others, please keep your questions coming. It's your chance. Okay, so Hazem is asking, are all graduates of business master programs from US universities eligible to apply for PhD programs in business too?
So usually a PhD program in the US requires a master's degree. Graduating from a master's or an MBA doesn't, guarantee you admission to a PhD program, but it is the general requirement to apply, if that makes sense. So if you have a master's degree, you would provide that along with your bachelor's usually to apply to a PhD program. I would say PhDs in business are a little bit more rare. People don't necessarily usually go into a PhD in that field because PhDs are very research-based and business is very experience-based. So MBA, MS in business is usually kind of the highest that you're going to go. And then you might, look into PhD programs in other fields. Once you get your master's in business, I would say that's kind of as high as you need to go to get those really high level jobs.
Okay, interesting. Now I have another question. So now could you please give us more details about the transfer process? So let's say that Libyan students start a school in Libya, college in Libya, and wants to transfer the credits to, let's say, Mercy College. So how does this work?
Yeah, so you would apply very similarly as you would if you were applying for the first time. We would just, in addition to your high school or your secondary records, transcripts, we also need anything you did in college. So any classes you took, those grades and those credits. We do the same thing for both of those levels of education. We convert them to what you would expect in the United States at that level. And then our transfer team, and this is pretty similar for all schools, our transfer team would take a look at how well the courses you took in Libya match the courses we offer, and we accept as many as we can. So if you're going to a 4-year college in Libya and you've gone to 3 years, we can accept up to 3 years of credit. That's not guaranteed that we will be able to because the curriculums are different. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it, but we are able to accept up to 3 years of credit from any school as long as it's an accredited institution from anywhere in the world. So you'd apply the same way. And then we would, after you're accepted, talk with you, tell you, okay, great, we got 30 credits. We accepted 30 credits. So you get to start in your second year rather than your first. So that's a really good way to save money, to get a US degree without being here for 4 years.
Yeah, sure. Okay. And when it comes to applying for graduate programs, is work experience required?
So that is a really good question. For some programs it is. For example, if you're applying for an executive master's, usually they're going to want 5 to 10 years of experience. For our master's degrees, a lot of students apply right after bachelor's, and we don't require work experience. We like to see that you did something during your bachelor's degree, that you had internships, that maybe you worked in the summer, or if you take a year off, then apply for your master's. We don't have a strict requirement of 5 years of experience, but we definitely want to see that you've had some sort of experience, whether that's internship, volunteer, or work experience. Yes.
Okay, good. And we talked a little bit about the scholarships that you offer, but some of the students about other available scholarships at Mercy College. So we mentioned the merit-based, and you say that you don't have the need-based one. So are there any other type of financial aid opportunities for international students?
So at Mercy, like we said, it's mostly based on your grades, both from your bachelor level and then in business graduate. We do have scholarships that go up to $5,000 depending on their start term. So fall, if you want scholarships, fall is generally the best time to apply because sometimes if we give all of our scholarships out in the fall, we don't have any for spring. Those are the main scholarships available at Mercy. Sometimes we're able to get a little bit of need-based aid, but it's not guaranteed. There are also private loans that some students take out, whether that's from their home country or once they get to the United States. It really varies on kind of your situation. So I definitely recommend talking with counselors one-on-one about it, because they can usually give you a little bit more specific information and help you figure out like, okay, so here's your actual cost, because it can be really confusing looking at all our websites, because we say things in different ways. It's hard to know like what fees are included, are books included, is housing included. So talk with counselors like me. We're always very happy to chat with you at all the schools and kind of give you a better idea of what you actually owe.
Thank you so much. Okay, so Hassan has another question too, talking about the PhD program. So he said, this means that graduates of MBA program without writing thesis are not eligible to apply for a PhD program in business?
You're eligible. There just aren't
Okay.
as many in the United States. A PhD in business isn't a very common degree.
Okay.
And you won't always at the master level in business need to write a thesis. For example, we don't have a thesis. We have called a capstone. It's like a final project. You do it with a group in most courses. It ends with maybe a business pitch or a business proposal. So it's not necessarily a paper or a thesis. It's definitely research-based, but it's also more practical.
Okay, good. And one last question. So can a student apply to business school before completing the undergraduate degree?
Yes, you can, generally only in your last year. So if you're completing your bachelor's now, you're going to graduate in spring or summer, definitely you can apply to start in fall for master's degrees. We would make a decision off of your 3.5 years of your bachelor's degree. Then once you graduate, you just send us your final documents showing that you did graduate.
Okay. Okay, great. Makes sense. All right. So thank you, everyone. We appreciate you being here. And feel free to save Ms. Sonia's contact information. If you have specific questions later that you'll think of, feel free to email her. Thank you so much, Ms. Sonia, for your instructive information.
This was great.
And thank you so much for joining us today. And we hope to have you again in the future with more opportunities. Okay.
Me too. Yes. I hope to hear from some of you. And have a wonderful rest of your evening, right?
Thank you. Yeah. So for anyone, so to close, for anyone who's watching, if you have questions, not specifically to the business programs, but generally about applying for college or choosing your best fit or looking for funding opportunities, please reach out to me, your advisor. Always keep an eye on our Facebook page and Instagram page as well. And if you are interested in learning more about the differences and similarities in 5 US regions in terms of accents and dialects, social norms, lifestyles, attitudes, fashion, and climate, join our next session, which is next Wednesday at 5 p.m. Libya time, to discover 5 regions in the US and interact with 5 US college representatives. We will announce more upcoming very soon. Thank you again, Sonia, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.